All right, one more time. We're going to get started again. Shh. This is a session on content, all about content. Social media, we might want to shut some of the doors. Is it loud? Feel free, you guys worry about that in the back. Shut the doors if you want, or shut some of them. We are going to talk high-level stuff. We're going to go into the weeds on tools and tactics. I want everyone to come away with some strategy and then with some actionable things that you can do to impact your brand. I'll get started with the introductions. I'll go first, and then we'll start over there and go down the panel. My name's Erik Van Horn. I've been in franchising for 20 plus years. 9 different brands: franchisee, franchisor, franchise development, area developer, master franchisee, all of that kind of stuff. I have a podcast called Franchise Secrets. I've got a Facebook group called Franchise Secrets, so a lot of you guys have met me through that venue. So I love content. I'm always doing stuff with content. Today, I have Front Street Equity Partners with 3 other partners: Jim Jaggers, who's not here, Jeff Herr, who may or may not be in the room, and Bobby Brennan, who's in the room. And what we do there is we help brands grow enterprise value really fast, and we are aligned with that brand on the back end to participate in a nice exit. We do that through an FSO component where our portfolio brands, we are that FSO for them, and we do strategic advisory for our brands and a lot of other things at Front Street. I want to start here and then introduce yourself, name, your brand, and what social media channels are you really, really good at? Because everyone, we all have different social media channels that we want to focus on or we are good at, and that way on the panel who you might want to come up and talk to after this to talk that particular social media channel with them. So go for it.
Hey everybody, my name is Kwon. I am currently the COO of a QSR, Korean barbecue, and a cup concept called Cupbop. Previous to this, it's actually my first time in franchising and food. Before this, I was an investor for a long time at a sizable hedge fund called Citadel back in New York for a while. And our social media channel, probably where we're putting the most focus on, I would say, has been TikTok recently.
So as you hear things like this, we'll take questions. But some people think TikTok, they might not have the right idea of what that is and how he's using that. So just keep that in mind.
Hi, everybody. My name is Deborah Strugo. I love content, and I'm so happy to be joining all these people on this panel. My fitness franchise kind of knowledge base got kicked off with founding Row House, and now I'm working with Pvolve. Very fortunate to be a part of a wonderful brand in Pvolve. We are pretty much doing a lot of Instagram content, and I would say that's probably the most important channel at the moment.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Shaina Denny, CEO and co-founder of Dogdrop. Dogdrop, small footprint, quick and easy, convenient dog daycare. We're putting these 2,000 square feet locations on the ground floor of apartment buildings and more. Drop off your dog for a half hour or all day, membership based. We have a couple locations open, corporate stores in Los Angeles. We just opened our first franchise location in Denver about 2 months ago and launching in Florida at the beginning of next year as well. When it comes to social media on the consumer side, so our end user, definitely Instagram's where we see the most success. And then I'll talk about a little bit in terms of marketing, looking at Z's and more strategic partnerships is going to be on Twitter for us.
Nice. Hey guys, I'm Brigham, and I run Hello Sugar. It's a Brazilian wax and sugar salon. I founded it in 2015. We started franchising 2.5 years ago. We have 65 open locations and a couple being built out this year. I would say our brand of choice, we do a lot of paid ads. So we're doing a lot of videos on your phone, transfers into Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We've tried pretty much everything. We tried Waze, we've done Tinder, we've done Grindr for the Brazilian waxing. Literally you name it, we've tested it on that. Snap, Twitter. And my preference, my gun of choice is TikTok. Yeah, I love it.
Anybody LinkedIn? Anybody strong on LinkedIn up here?
No.
How about out there? Who's strong on LinkedIn, good at LinkedIn, likes LinkedIn? All right. Hands down, what about Instagram? TikTok? 1. Facebook? YouTube? YouTube wasn't mentioned up here either. Tom and some of the others. Okay, good. All right, so one of the things I want to do is understand the content team. So I've talked to a lot of different brands, and some people are spending millions of dollars on content. Some people are doing it on a shoestring. So I think it would be helpful to understand, like, what does your content team look like? How do you create content, and how do you push it out? So I'll go first with that, and I'll do it from a perspective of I'm looking for brands at Front Street that want to partner with us. And so I've got a podcast. I've got my podcast that I do once a week. I probably, at any given time, have 5 or 6 shows recorded. And then it takes me 1 hour to do that. I end that, and it gets sent to my podcast team for $1,500 a month. They will take that, and they will edit it. They will give me 4 clips for our reels, so to put on social media, and they will give me 1 email that goes out. That's a pretty good email, and that goes out to my list of like 9,000 people. So that's $1,500 a month. From that, I send that same podcast to a virtual assistant, and they will, for $10 a reel, make those for me. So I don't do anything with it. I don't tell them what to cut up or anything. I send it to them. They cut it up into 20 plus clips, and they charge me $10 for that clip, each clip. They send that to my other VA for $10 a day. We'll take that, put copy behind it, or the written words behind it with hashtags, and they will then put that on all my social media channels, not using Hootsuite or anything like that. They go individually to post them to all of the channels. And so all that content, if you see my content, it's not me really doing a whole lot. I do 1 podcast, and it's repurposed. One of the things that we're getting ready to start doing, we have a lot of different brands at Front Street that we talk to all the time. And I went to my partner, Jeff, and I said, hey, what if we started to record all of these calls that we do? And if there's a good one where we're happen to be saying something smart or helpful that other people might find smart or helpful, let's give that to the same editing team that's doing all of this other stuff. So we're going to start doing that too, because I like to create content that's frictionless for me. I do it once, and it just gets pushed out to all the channels. And one of the things that I've realized, especially listening to Alex Hormozi and knowing him and knowing people that know him, Grant Cardone told them, like, you are weak in the content that you're putting out. You are not putting out nearly enough content. And that's something that I'm always pushing myself, that I need to be doing more and more content. And the way that I just described it to you is one of the ways that I'm doing that. So brands, let's just go. Actually, we're going to start over here with you, just to switch it up a little bit. What does your team look like? Who do you have doing stuff? And if you can, get granular for people.
I'd love to start with the team, but let me first start off by, like, what does the background look like, right? Like, I mean, if you're just filming with some random crap in the background, it doesn't look as good, right? So you've got to think about even the studio that you produce. And if you're going to start off, I would just buy a nice photo of something that you really like, that really, like, resonates with you. A lot of mine has a picture of Messi in the background, which doesn't have anything to do with Hello Sugar. And then make sure you have a light coming from on top, right? You can buy these on Amazon for about $150, and a light coming from the side. Just doing that will up your game like 10x right there. Then go on Amazon and buy a mic.
Real quick, with that, Elgato. Write down Elgato. They've got some really good lights that you can just change on your phone. LED, really strong ones.
Yeah.
So then now you're on Amazon. After you go to Elgato, get Elgato on Amazon.
There you go, and use his promo code. He gets 10% on that. Yeah. Make sure you put Erik 20 on there. Yeah. And then buy a mic. So on your phones, you can attach like a little receiver, and you put a mic right here, and it just it works. There's no software needed. There's no syncing needed. It's just super easy. Just get the setup right. That's like step 1. And then for us, what we do is I have a team. So I have a team of 2 coaches that come together before we even meet, and they have like a list of like 20 questions or so. And they send me the questions ahead of time. And just like I used to do when I was teaching, I would, like at school, I would go, I'd research, I'd put things together, I'd write like little responses. And then when we actually meet, they would be like, hey, well, tell me what your thoughts are on this one. And then we'll think for a minute, we'll pick a hook, we'll pick a content, and then we'll pick basically a call line at the end. So the team does that, then it sends it off to the VAs, and we got the VAs that, piece it all together and publish it. So that's like that side of things. And then for the ad side, which is like a totally different section for us, we have a videographer who, this might surprise you, but everything's done on the phone now. And if you don't do it on the phone, you don't get as much results. Like, it looks better because it looks more real if you do it on a phone. So use everything on the phone. And then we send it to a team in the Philippines, and they do all of our content, like editing and stuff, and then we publish it on the social channels and paid media.
So just had an idea. Email me at Erik@Franchise Secrets, and we will put together a list of equipment and tools and things that we do. So everyone will kind of contribute to that. We'll just put it out in a Google Doc. But just email me at Erik, E-R-I-K, @Franchise Secrets if you want all of those notes. And I don't have any affiliate codes or...
I want one.
Yet, but
9,000 went up to
Yeah.
9,100.
and we'll put all of our contact information in there. But by then, I might have a code
Yeah,
that I can
by
make
then.
a penny on everything.
Yeah, and Erik, I hear if you go on the street right now, you can find some really good deals on iPhones, just some of the guys walking
He's
around.
got the latest one, too.
$500
Like,
bucks.
did you get it?
Yeah, just on the street.
Follow that.
I go a little different direction. We're pretty lucky. We have a good content topic, dogs. So speaking with that, actually, Brigham and I were just chatting. Our best content is in the shop. And the back where the dogs are hanging, people love it. We don't overthink it. Before, we would get all excited, put a ton of time, thought, money into creating like really interesting, like educational pieces, dog behavior. That's really the value we wanted to bring. Still great and helpful, but what performs best is the dogs just playing, and it was filmed by our droppers, the daycare attendants, in like a 10-second split is actually what performs the best. We do always make sure that all of our stores, instead of going cheap, they all have the newest iPhones. It's high quality. It's the best investment you can do if you have, I'm sure most of you, brick and mortar stores as well. Give your team, your retail hourly employees an iPhone 15, and these people will do awesome stuff with it. That's really the angle that we go with, and as well, we'll talk more about user-generated content, but especially for our business, we focus on that.
Yeah, I would love to double down on that comment. In the health and fitness space, I think that is exceptional content. Like, people just coming out of doing that workout and they feel really, really great, and you just grab something and get the people that are on the desk working to help generate that content so that it's very fresh, very authentic, very exciting, and it also helps them, oftentimes, the people that are working the desk shifts or even the instructors, feel really engaged in the brand. So it's just a really nice way to kind of put kind of their creative juices, I guess, also into the system of the store, and lifting that message and the content of what the actual experience is outside of the four walls. At Pvolve, that is obviously something that we were doing, but the other side of the content is there's a lot of brands level content in support that has been created in support of Jen Aniston coming on to being a part and ambassador and evangelist of the Pvolve brand. So that content looks nothing like the user generated in the wall content. That's like all the tons of shots and cameras and people, and only use the team that she's worked with in the past, and hair and makeup, and only this hair person and only that makeup person. So that's quite different. So we do have kind of a brand level marketing push that looks very different, I think, than kind of some of the studio content that's coming out, and it all meshes together on the social platforms. And so that's an interesting piece to continue to figure out as the Pvolve brand grows, how it looks together and is aligned.
I think all of us here, I think the point kind of is that it doesn't have to be expensive. And I think that's the whole point of social media, is that it really evens out the playing field a little bit. Just to give you a little bit of context, so Cupbop started from a food truck 10 years ago. We now have about 210 locations globally, of which just over 50 is in the US. And we've been making a big social media push. Because, number one, we've never had a budget. We've never raised money, actually. And most of our stores are corporate owned still. And we're very lucky. Our founder is a very creative guy, very good at social media. And for the first 9 years, So up until really last year, he was doing all digital marketing, social media alone with his iPhone until we hired a part-time social media manager last year. And we've been able to actually make a pretty big impact. I think TikTok alone, I think we got 100 million views last year on an account that we started last year. And it just, it doesn't have to be expensive, and it's hard to think when you start. It's like, oh man, what unique content do I have? And you might not have it. And initially that you can think of, that is brilliant. And the fact is, you might think this is great content. It may hit, it may not. It's a numbers game at the end of the day. And sometimes you think the dumbest things hit, and something that you think will hit doesn't hit. But I think if you're on it every day, and if you don't have ideas, just look at, for example, TikTok. Look at what videos are trending and why it's trending. Start there. Like, that's very easy, right? Because you have a lot of videos that are trending, themes that are trending. Plug in your brand in there somehow, integrate it, and start from there. And I think that would be a great start. And that's what we did when we started TikTok. So,
how many people have a full-time in-house social media manager? The handful. How many people are thinking about hiring a full-time in-house social media manager or interested in that? Okay. Tell us about that person. What do they do, and kind of a pay range?
So we have a part-time social media manager. He spends a few hours with us. I think we pay that person $4,000 a month or so, but it's pretty part-time. So the content side, our founder still kind of mostly comes up with and says, hey, I want to shoot something like this. And then our part-time social media manager would go shoot it, edit it, post it. That's really his role. So
perfect. All right, let's go down around the room. Brigham, why don't you talk about the viral framework?
Yeah. If you guys want to, this is it, right? Hook, story, offer. That's every marketing 101. That's what we start with. Hook, 5 seconds or less. Biggest mistake we make is we don't spend enough time here. It's a 5-second piece, but it's the most important piece in your content, right? So make sure it's something that's catchy. And here's some examples. Like let's say you're doing one on business. This is how you double your business in 2 years. Or this is how I went from making $100 to $10,000 a month. And it's still realistic for people. It's hey, 10,000 is in my wheelhouse. But if you're this is how I made $10 million, it's it's unrealistic, or, So it has to be something that really catches people. So place all your attention on hook, and then we have story offer. That's the viral framework, and then it's a quantity game. So put as much content as you can out there, and something will stick.
What does as much as you can look like? Where are you? How much are you putting out? And where do you want to be?
Yeah, and it's really important to do systems. So we talked about this before. So my team comes in with 20 questions or so. And then it's kind of like podcast style. Just here, Erik's asking this question, then I would give a response. It's all filmed, and then it just goes into the flow, and they take care of editing it, piecing it together, and putting it online. For me, I think 20 a month is a very realistic, easy, that's a good goal. And at first, before I had a team, I was dude, this is impossible. But we can film this in 1 hour. Literally in 1 hour, we can get 20 videos for the entire month. And we can put those out and put them on a posting schedule. So
give us an example of the question. How does it, show us with your phone, what would you do?
Can you come back to me on that one?
Yes. As we're waiting on that, AI. Who's using AI in content like ChatGPT or other tools? How are you using it to produce content or help you with content? Anybody?
We use AI a lot in blog content. I'm sure most of you have hyperlocal businesses. SEO is super important, and you can just crush 30 blog posts a month with AI. ChatGPT integrates. We have our blog off of our website. We just use something simple, a Squarespace that it links out to. And we were already ranked before our last location was open, #1 dog daycare in Hollywood before the doors opened, because 8 months before we just started crushing a ton of blog content. 99% was with AI, generate the photos for the blog post, all of the above.
I did a mastermind session for franchisees and franchisors, and I had somebody in there that trained you how to train Chat GPT to understand your voice, your persona, and all of this. So it's important to how to train it. I will have that put onto an unlisted YouTube, and I'll put that in that same Google Doc. So AI, anybody?
No. We're looking into it heavily.
Okay.
We haven't really integrated much
All right.
yet.
Do you have your thing ready?
I got you, Erik. Okay, so here's something they said. They had it says crucial conversations, handling feedback. And the hook was negative feedback, a business doom or opportunity. And then the story, basically you give your assessment of negative feedback. What is it? And then I'd go through a story with my business in particular. And then the ending of the hook was, we looked at this negative feedback and we said, hey, from this, we created X, Y, and Z, which made it a positive experience. And so just tell a story with a cool hook. One last one for you. Work-life balance in a digital age. The hook is feeling overwhelmed in a 24/7 connected world. And then we'd go through that story.
Guys, it's really not that complicated. If you just open up your notes or have something to take notes, if you have ideas, you're like, oh, this is a cool story. I don't know where this story should be placed at some point, but this will be a good story. Or you just have an idea for Facebook. I have a running list of Facebook posts that I'm going to start doing more of, and you just gotta. Those are going to be written, but you just that way that you have the idea. Because I'm going to try to do one post a day of something personal, business. But it's got to be helpful too. It's not a pitch. We all know that. Yeah. But it's just not that difficult.
Yeah, Erik, can I say something on this? Guys, a little bit on content. Like the first time I ever filmed was I was teaching at college. I had a university course, and Keaton, raise your hand. That's my buddy. Keaton was my TA at the time, and we needed to put our course online because we couldn't teach in school anymore. So we had to do a digital course, and we got in front of the camera. We set it all up. We had professional equipment, everything, and we did 3 hours of video, and I got 2.5 minutes of content. And it turns out the mic wasn't connected, so we literally didn't get anything at all. It was miserable. And I'm a decent public speaker, but then I get in front of a camera and I'm like, this is so different. You're trying to generate your own energy. You're looking at an inanimate object and trying to be excited. It's weird, right? So if you guys are starting out, just give yourself some grace, some patience. It's gonna take a while to get in the form of talking to this thing and feeling like this is a fun thing to do. It's weird. It's really weird at first, but it comes with time and you'll get more natural at it the more you do it.
I have a story that I just thought about. I'm probably going to do a video about it later, but it has something to do with pickleball this morning. And the last 3 games that I played against this guy, we destroyed him.
Cut the mic.
So that's a good story. I'll definitely tell that at some point. All right. Why don't you share just about customer content, using customers to get content? Because that's just another easy way, low-hanging fruit, to have your own customers produce content for you.
Yeah, you don't have to get in it's not necessary to film yourself chatting all the time. You have customers, right? So if that's not your personality, that's not your thing, utilize your customer base, because I'm sure you have some pretty cool, interesting customers. I think for us, especially, that's what folks are interested in. We have a smaller platform. We have 3 locations open. 70% of our members live within a 10-minute walk. So what's most important is really connecting with our customers and them amplifying their voices. And you'll see, and it's also great because all of our members, their dogs have Instagrams too. And so we make sure to tag every member on our Instagram that then they're going to repost on theirs, and then their parent is going to repost on theirs. And guess where they all live? Next to all these other people with dog parents. And that's way more exciting than me trying to talk about something I have no clue what I'm talking about. And as well, I think the thing is to use your customers virality instead of building your own to amplify it. I think you'd be surprised when you go through your customer list, you start putting their names on in TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. You're going to be like, wow, I never knew that person that comes into my coffee shop 2 times a week has 500,000 followers. And those are the folks you're going to connect with and really can utilize their platform, especially when you're a smaller emerging brand, especially when you don't have a lot of money to invest in your own social media and content.
Do you do anything with micro-influencers when you find them?
Yeah, so for us, I mean, I don't know who was in the panel this morning about creating the persona about your ideal franchisee, but we do the same thing, but creating our persona about our ideal customer, right? So for me, I'm thinking someone 30 years old, lives within X neighborhood of my store, and obviously has a dog. I will go onto Instagram, check in who was at the Silver Lake Dog Park, and literally I can see 200 people that checked in my geolocation with a dog within the last 2 weeks. And then we can reach out to them, utilize that platform as well. That's really kind of our tactic. And then you'll find people, I'm like, oh, the girl that checked in to the dog park a couple blocks down has 100,000 followers on Instagram. Let's reach out to her, offer her dog a free trial. You can do the same thing with any concept, fitness concept. Hey, come in for a workout. I see you live down the block.
Wanted to, you find your resources in rooms like this. I told you about how I have my VA, how I have my video editor, but it came from my friend Bennett with Dirty Dough. He's the one that gave me that person. I think they're full, so no, you can't have them anymore because they have enough work. But just ask questions to people in this room, like, what are you doing? How are you doing it? Do you have a VA? Do they have room for more people or to take on more customers? And usually they do. All right, I love influencer marketing, and you say Jen Aniston. I've always said Jennifer, so I must be because I don't know her. But can you talk a bit about influencer marketing?
She was also she also had a code name for a while before she was announced, and she was Joanna. So it's like Joanna, Jen Aniston, J.A., Jennifer Aniston. Anyway, global celebrity who authentically loved the Pvolve brand and just kind of reached out and said she wanted to be a part of it. So the founder, Rachel, was ecstatic. How could you not be? Julie, the president, was also equally ecstatic because of the reach that she, as a massive celebrity and influencer, brings. So she had come upon the brand, I think, during COVID, just as a virtual user, now spends a lot of time in studio, and decided that she wanted to share that with the world. So in addition to formal marketing, and we talked about the brand's videos, and there's a TV spend and all of that that's required to be with her. In addition to that, there's been a ton of just influencer-led marketing, not only she posting by herself on her social channels, but also she had asked that we bring VIP bags to a lot of her influencer friends who are quite massive influencers as well. So that's kind of in the world of the macro massive influencers. On the micro influencers, I love also what you're sharing about, just looking at the geotag of the dog park at the studio level. That's extremely important for us because this brand also, speaks a lot to women as they go through pregnancy stages and menopause stages and things like that. So it's important to find micro influencers or, people within the community, partners within the community through social primarily that drive that user group. And so I just wanted to tie it back also to like the persona, the Jen and the VIP and all of those, that influencer. It's not always like an attainable, I see myself in you, that type of post, like I want to be you. But when we go micro influencer too, I think that's where you really get connected to people that are like you in your community that you want to, do what they're doing down the block. And so on franchising, that's where it's really, really exciting to kind of play on both sides of it.
All right, Doc, we're going to talk TikTok.
Yep.
And but after that, I'm going to ask a question about like what's the secret sauce to find franchise buyers, because everyone's got like a secret sauce. You may have that or may not. And then I want to get some questions from the audience because I got a bunch of questions here. But more important than that are some questions that you all might have. So why don't you take it away, talk about just starting on a smaller budget, TikTok.
Yeah, I think we were just comfortable starting on a small budget because we've always been on a small budget. And that was the whole point of social media. And yeah, TikTok, it was just early last year, and we saw the landscape changing, a lot of users going to TikTok and said, hey, we got to have a TikTok account. We got to have a TikTok account. And we said, okay. We created, the TikTok account. And the one thing that you have to try to do is obviously make it very engaging. That's why, to my earlier point of, hey, if you don't have something burning in your head to put out, well, let's start with trending videos, right? Because there's a reason it's trending. And it also lets you put out a lot more content, and that's what we did to really jumpstart the account. And it takes a while, probably the first 20, 30, 40, even 50 videos really didn't hit until one of our videos hit and had like 25 million views, and then you start gaining followers, right? And then there's a little bit of a snowball effect from that. And so I think the key is consistency. You got to keep putting it out. And like I said before, you don't know what's going to hit. You don't know, what's not going to hit. There are videos where we've actually spent a lot of time and thought, man, this is so good. It's going to be awesome. And it has no views. There are ones that we do in 3 minutes, don't think we're going to hit, and we're going to get 10 million views on it. And so I think consistency, so keep trying, and also efficiency. Think about the efficiency of just trying to brainstorm your content versus also using content that's out there and trying to integrate it into your own brands. So
I lied. I got another question first. I just realized I have a newsletter called franchisenewsletter.ai. I don't touch it at all. It's AI driven, and it gets pushed out there. It's kind of like Twitter, and you're really, really good on Twitter. Can you talk about the newsletter trends and why you love Twitter? And what's your Twitter handle?
Before I start, please, someone do not start another newsletter. We don't need it. Just kidding. They supposedly work. Anyway, if you're thinking about starting a newsletter, I don't have one.
We're taking her phone or mic away. She's banned.
Try out Beehive if you're looking to start a newsletter as well. The other thing is you don't have to start everything. You can piggyback off of other communities. So actually what's interesting, instead of building like Twitter, you can look up my Twitter handle. It's Shaina Denny, my first and last name. I have sub 500 followers. Not big on Twitter, but what I am big on is engaging on Twitter, right? So I don't care, and I don't put a lot of time into creating my own awesome content and newsletters and podcasts, but what I am great at doing is identifying personas, right? Who is my franchisee? What other SMB, ETA, franchise, twit, bro categories can I go into? And I find these people on Twitter and I engage with them. I look up trending keywords, folks that are looking, searchers, buying businesses, interested. I'm going to go under hashtag dogs, hashtag pet care, anyone that's talking about this. And then I'm going to just engage for a while, start liking things, looks like a great place for a Dogdrop on real estate post, etc. And then probably they're going to follow me back and say, what is this? Oh, thanks for asking. And now it's inbound into my inbox, right? But they found out because I was kind of engaging for a while quietly. So this is what I try to spend a half hour in the morning when I wake up, a half hour, an hour at night. We're actually in an agreement right now for a franchise agreement with someone from Twitter who on his post, all I did was put the eye emojis, like I see it, replied. He started following me back, thought the concept was cool. So I'm just trying to share, you don't have to create all this stuff. You just go where the people are, go where your customers are, and be discoverable.
You're not going to be able to do everything. I can't do everything that we talk about up here, but just start doing something new this next week. And Twitter is a great place to start because there's not a lot of franchising people on Twitter, really.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people spending a ton of time into this content. And if you start engaging in their conversations just with a little comment or post or then people will follow you back and you're not the one actually developing that from the ground up.
All right.
I did have to share one thing as kind of, I know we were talking about a lot of having your retail employees post content. I just wanted to share, give them brand guidelines. I think that was something I heard us talking about it. I was like, someone needs to talk about this. For us, we have a huge laminated poster in the back. do's and don'ts, yes and no's. That's literally laminated. You could have it at your front desk. We say what font they can type in, what kind of stickers are appropriate or not, what words do we use and not use. So you want your employees to be creative. They have that buy-in huge. Our employees love when we repost the photos they took or the stories. They really feel super bought into the brand, but we do give guidelines and that brand voice.
All right, so who's finding franchise leads where? Anybody finding franchise buyers on social?
Yeah, I mean,
Spill the beans, man.
no, this is just my network. Like, so like every time we open a new store, we always post a picture and then a video saying, hey, 65th location opened, and then sure enough, somebody DMs me. It's not always going to lead to something, but it has, and it's been good for us.
So posting every deal announcement, and at Front Street, we're going to be doing a lot kind of new stuff with that you don't see out there, and I believe that's going to start attracting more leads. So you'll kind of see us over at Go Glow and Magnolia Soap and Bath starting to post buyers and who they are, where they came from, because a lot of people are interested in that. So we're going to spill some beans, but we're also going to provide a lot of value, and a lot of more people are going to see the type of stuff that we're going to start putting out, and so that's always a good thing.
We also hit up, I don't want to talk about this too much, but we hit up a bunch of podcasts. So I've been on a couple of podcasts, like the best, only the best ones though, only the best ones, only the best ones.
That's not true.
And they've been good for us. So like Entrepreneurs on Fire was a good one for us. There's a couple, I can't tell you all the names right now.
Did you pay to be on EO Fire?
I paid $3,500 and I got some really solid leads out of it.
That's great. That's cheap.
Yeah, it was really good. And then we contacted Cody Sanchez.
Yep, Cody's awesome.
Her videos are like 7,000. We got a spot. I even sent her like a video, like as if I was Cody Sanchez. I was in the chair and everything, and I was like exactly what I would do for Hello Sugar, just so she could like visualize it, you know? And so she's ready to film us, and then she like canceled last minute, and we haven't rescheduled yet. But that was 7,000.
I told her to not do that.
That's why. Dang it.
All right, speaking of a podcast, our first franchisee at Go Glow came from my podcast. And so I would try to get on as many podcasts that you can, not just in franchising. Everybody listens to these different franchising podcasts, but go to industry podcasts where, and Bennett, is Bennett still here? Did he take off? Bennett's not. Oh, good. We didn't want to talk to him anyway. All right, anybody else? Any place on social or content creation that you're finding that's helpful to get franchisee leads?
We're just starting that process. I mean, personally, we've been mostly corporate, and it's actually the last couple of years I've been debating whether to even franchise or not. And so we're just kind of getting into that realm. But yeah, we expect to really kind of start kicking it off for sure.
I'll show one other thing we just recently started doing. We're using a lot of the same acquisition tactics to see if it works with on the franchisee buyer side as well. I haven't seen this yet, but I now, because I guess I'm a target to buy other dog daycares, I guess I would make a great dog daycare franchisee because I get targeted these all the time. And so now I'll see who likes all of these from people spending lots of money and targeting, and then I'll go follow them on a Dogdrop LinkedIn profile as well, right? So I'm like, who were all these people that were targeted? It has 100, like maybe 5,000 likes. That could be anyone, but maybe only 15 people commented on the actual post for another dog daycare franchise, and I'll add them or like them back, and it's hyper targeted. And that's what we do actually on the end customer side too. We'll go to other dog daycares and see what dogs are they posting and follow them too. So we're trying it out that way.
I want to go back to podcast real quick, and then we'll go there. If you are on somebody else's podcast, ask them for the raw footage or the edited footage, and let them know that you want to create content out of that. So, because it's free content for you, and they will be happy to give it to you because you are now pushing their podcast. So definitely do that.
I was just going to say, with regards to finding franchisees with content, so I think where Pvolve is right now is kind of also where Row House was in the early days, where there are a lot of franchisees coming in from the community, from within the community, and it kind of encapsulates a couple of the points that have been here, which are it's really the power and the testament to strong brands. So if you know who is your brand? What are your values? Everybody's been talking about that throughout this day. And make sure that the people within your studios or within, your brick and mortar locations also can spot that in your consumers. That's kind of where I think it all comes together in this social. And then you end up having kind of this backdrop of building more clients, but also building the franchise partners, because they end up catching wind of the fact that these are franchise opportunities. A new one opens over there. Oh, it's because it's a franchise. It's not a corporate owned business like, a competitor down the thing. And then they start to better know the franchise owner and see themselves in that franchise owner as well, and all these types of things. So obviously those types of people that are coming from within the community that are the Uber fans need to be vetted really well. But I still think they're massively helpful in growing a young emerging brand.
All right, who has a question? Anybody have a question?
Good panel. Thank you all very much. My question is about content for consumer-oriented as opposed to development-oriented. We're primarily on LinkedIn because our customers are big, large companies. And I'm always debating about whether it should be promotional-oriented or kind of more educational-oriented. And so we mix it up, and to your point, Doug, you got to try a lot of different things. But I'm just curious where you guys come out on that as to should it be more educational or more of, hey, here's a customer win, or maybe it's a combination of that. Interested in your thoughts.
All right, I'll let someone kind of repeat that question, encapsulate it, but I'm going to give a LinkedIn tip. We hate getting LinkedIn spam. So yeah, first name, last name on LinkedIn. On your first name, I would do Erik H. So Erik space H on my first name, and then my last name is my last name. What happens is people will inbox you, and it will say Erik H. As soon as somebody says Erik H, I just delete that because I know it was a bot doing it. So that might save you a little bit of time in LinkedIn dealing with all the spam stuff there. But did you have a comment on that LinkedIn question? Anybody have a comment on that LinkedIn question?
I would do, this might sound crazy, I would do almost no promotional and do all content. And then run digital ads, like paid ads, to do the promotional side. The thought process on that is like, it's kind of like Shaina was saying, like they're just going to naturally start to be curious and want to learn more. And eventually they'll check out your brand. But if you're just offering so much good content, they're going to be in love with your brand and they're going to come and find you. And on the paid side, I would use all the leads that you're gathering from all the followers and the email lists that you're building and stuff, and then do what's called a lookalike list and target people that are similar to that through Facebook, TikTok, social media channels.
I agree. On the minimize the promo stuff as much as you possibly can. Post things that are evergreen that get people to engage with your brands, and use different lead processes to get the promos out. So whatever your sales process is, that's where kind of the promos are. Or I think people have done promos in stories effectively because like Insta stories or something. But the minute you start being the brands that's promoting all of the time, people are just waiting and looking for promos, and you're not getting people closer to the value behind the brands and why they should be a part of it.
I don't have this, but who would like a 12-hour in-depth franchise development playbook video course? Like, who would want that in here? I think, yeah, there's the number of people would want that. Jeff and I talked about that. I'm like, Jeff, we should create a 12 to 20 hour like in-depth franchise development playbook. And it goes into your point on LinkedIn. Like if you have something of high value to give your ideal target audience, and our ideal target audience are brands that we want to partner with. Your ideal target audience is a franchisee or whoever that is. Make something really valuable that you should be selling for $5,000, $10,000 to somebody, and give that to value for free. And that's how they'll see that. And then they will be the one that will engage with it versus you trying to say, pick my thing, email me, DM me, yada, yada, yada. Especially on LinkedIn, everybody's pitching. So if everyone's pitching, do the opposite. You, and then we'll go over here. Thanks.
My question, you mentioned AI. Are any of you freaked out that you're going to build a bunch of stuff using AI and then it's going to turn out, you're going to get penalized for it in the end because it was all made kind of generated? And if so, what are you doing to kind of mitigate against that?
Did you have something on this?
There was in the 2000s. There's this Harvard guy that he found out that there was like keywords and like text and stuff that if you put them into pages, that they'd rank higher in Google. So they used a white font and they just put they stuffed their keywords on the page, and they got away with it until Google got smarter, right? And so at some point, to your credit, like AI is going to be combated, and there's already predictive analysis for like schools and stuff on this. But a lot of our stuff is UGC, right? It's like user-generated content that's using AI to augment the ideas that we have, and then we put it in. So for example, we talked about the 20 points of like those questions. Like a lot of those questions come from maybe an AI, or like take this book and summarize some questions from it. But then I take that and I build it through my experience of the brand, and I'm the one telling the story using those questions. So it's still UGC, it's user-generated content still.
Yeah, in that session that I had in the mastermind, he talks about that. And you don't want to just say, hey, what are the 20 most unique things about franchising? Kicks it out with no help at all, and you're like, oh, that looks great. And then you put that as an article. It's obvious that's AI. Like, I don't do anything like that. A lot of people that I know don't do anything like that. They use it as a tool. It's replacing a lot of copywriters, and it helps people like me that know good copy, but I'm not a copywriter by any means. So use it as a tool and then tweak it and change it. You get the copy and then you're like, that doesn't sound like me. This is different, and then change it. But use it as a tool. Don't use it as the end all. Anything?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think our philosophy is just like build it. If it's going to get taken down later, then that's it. I mean, you could say like, well, TikTok might still get removed in the US. And now we're all talking how we're going to stop building our brands on TikTok because we're not investing in it. Like, you can reuse your materials in any other places. I don't think it's a wasted time or investment. And when and if that time comes, then you'll jump to the next platform, but hopefully have learnings in the meantime, and hopefully have new users or acquisition that's made it worthwhile.
And if you have anything that's video, put that on YouTube, because YouTube is Google, and the algorithms all work together. So at least it should be on YouTube. Any comments up here? So personal Instagram account, doing well with that, thinking about setting up a second Instagram account with the intention of getting franchisees to your brand.
Yeah, I don't want to talk promotional on my regular platform. I do want to connect with my customers, but I feel like I do need to do some additional promo or just.
I think that's interesting. It was kind of like wheels were spinning. I think it would be cool that Instagram account is the franchisees behind X brand, right? So if this was my concept, franchisees of Dogdrop, maybe these are not aspirational people like a Jennifer Aniston or something, but now the faces and the stories on this account is someone I could potentially relate to. And maybe that's kind of how you promote it off of there. So it's not just a complete promo account, that it's actually something interesting. It's community building. It's your kind of, if you're sharing about employees. We don't do that though.
I think, and that's actually a question that I've been thinking about with our platform right now. And I think the way we're probably going to decide to do is not to create a separate account. Number one, creating a separate account just for promotional content. Number one, I don't think it will work super well anyway. And number two, I think it will be inefficient in a way, because a lot of the fans who love your brand are already following you, and you want to be able to maximize kind of the followers that you already have. And I think it's just about really balancing how far you go with the promotional content versus, because believe it or not, a lot of followers potentially would love to franchise, they follow you, right? And if they see it, it's great for them, right? So I don't know if creating a separate account would work very well.
Yeah, the reason to create a separate account is to run ads to that account. So if you have your personal account, you can't run ads to that account then you probably want to have a paid account that probably looks very similar, a professional account probably looks very similar to your personal account, but you can run ads, and the stuff that's working on your personal account that's getting some attention, gets clicks, gets likes, then you want to put that on your paid account and run some boosts and ads to that. So that's how I would probably work that. Good question.
So thank you guys for doing this. This is really insightful because you guys are speaking the language that I don't always speak. So some of the social media, so I appreciate all the insight. What is yours, and Brigham, this might be more specific for you, given the nature of your guys' category, like waxing, right?
Yeah.
What is your thought process of one corporate social media page versus individual franchisee pages? And
Oh my
managing that
gosh.
From what's acceptable with those in social media?
I just think like I just have this like I wake up in the morning and I'm like, somebody's gonna post something like, "What up, bitches? Come check out my account." It's gonna happen, right? And like and this kind of goes back to the point for you as well. It's like this, like, look, if you're not gonna do it all the way, and you're probably not because this isn't like a big magnitude of change for you, especially at the corporate level, then just don't do it. Because what's happening for us, and we're having this problem right now, is that you search Hello Sugar, you're gonna see 20 different handles and not know which one's the corporate one. And you might be following someone in Atlanta when you live in, I don't know, Phoenix, right? And those accounts they're great for like 10 posts, and then just the momentum dies. So just like, let's not do things halfway. Let's have one large account, because not everyone is great at social media. It's just like going to the grocery store hungry. You just shouldn't do it, right? And let's just focus on giving really quality content.
So are you saying you don't have local accounts?
We do, but I need to ban them because they're just
Okay. Well, I'll speak from having both accounts, if that's helpful. This absolutely goes back to brand values. Absolutely. If your whole network is educated on brand values, on the do's and the don'ts that were messaged, it'll self-police and it'll autocorrect itself if somebody posts one of those crazy things during the day. I'm not saying that you should have done a better job at that, but I mean, it's a risk. It's totally a risk. But if you don't have a local account showing a local community, you kind of run the risk that you don't develop a local community if you're a community-driven business, which not every franchise in this room is a community-driven business. In the health and fitness space, we are very much a community-driven business. So you need to have the local touch points. You need to see the franchise owner somewhere in the thing. You need to see the local instructor, not the brand. So it's totally different. So, yeah. But I think that then it kind of auto-polices itself, or you have to come in as a franchisor and police it. But if you do that, at least you're policing it off of, hey guys, in your initial trainings, we talked to you about the brand's values. There are 4 of them. Everybody should know it. You didn't follow that in this situation. So it becomes pretty black or white and cut and dry on how to, or why you're asking something to be removed or whatever. And by the way, I think staff members also get weeded out that way when you do really strong brand stuff. So.
Okay, we got 2 minutes. Last thing, quick tip. We'll just go here. So quick tip. I'll go first to give you a second to think. Back to podcasts, because I know podcasting. I would find out who your competitors are and search their name and podcast. Find out what podcast they've been on and go try to get on that podcast. Because that podcaster most podcasters are always looking for more guests. And so that's a really good thing to do. And then maybe set up a Google alert with their name, the brand's name, and podcast. That way you get alerted, and then you can reach out to that particular podcast. And I know this because somebody just reached out to be on my podcast. That's a competitor of one of our portfolio brands. I'm like, ooh, I don't like that. We need to go find out where they're on all these podcasts and get our founder, Mel, with GoGlow on all the podcasts that her competitor's on. So all of you should do the same.
I think my quick tip would be it could be very overwhelming. If you're like, how do I even get started? I'd say just start it. Just start it and start posting. You got to start somewhere, and you're never going to know what's going to work or not. But if you don't do it, and unless, if it's like a really premium brand that you guys are running, you don't want to put subpar content out there. I guess it will depend on the business model and the brand itself. But most brands, you can find a way to integrate things, and you can use literally 10 minutes today to get a few posts. So I'd say biggest tip, just get started.
I think my tip is around the concept of shift reports. So whatever that means, use those to generate the themes. So keep your finger on the pulse of the community through your shift reports. And we talked about like all of those themes that you can just kind of be like, this is a theme that I'd like to post on, and use that and just like lift those ideas into your content when you create it.
I gave my tip, but yeah, my other tip is to get started. I started when I was on a hike, and I knew people were distracted by looking at everything going on behind me in a rainstorm on a hill behind my house, and that was my first Facebook Live like 100 years ago. And I had one person like watch that video, but I got started, and then it just compounded after that.
Sweet. Well, I guess I'd go where your customers are, just where you'd go offline, go to where they hang out online as well.
All right, my tip's gonna be a little contrarian. It's gonna be this. Some of you need to look in the mirror and realize that you're boring. And if that's you,
Oh, I
then
thought you were going to say good enough.
No. This is not like a pump you up kind of tip. This is like, don't waste your time, right? So like some of you need to look in the mirror and say like, I'm a boring person. I'm not going to be like super active on social medias and get a lot of followers. And that's 100% okay. If that's the case, if you're debating between those two and you're like, dude, this is not me. This is never going to be, try the paid approach. Just do paid ads. We get 10x as many from paid ads. We're getting 350 leads per location per month. By like, we spend about $1,000 a location. We're crushing it on that. And it never took me being in front of the camera or somebody else in front of the, it literally just, it's an ad, right? And you can get just as good of the results if you know how to do good advertising and marketing or hire a good agency as if you go the social route. So, let's talk about life decisions a little bit and figure out which one's the best one for you.
Awesome. Thanks, panelists. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Thank you.